From a highly secure network of top secret locations across North America, this is the Spurs Insider with another winning streak edition. I am Mike Finger, joined as always by San Antonio Express News Spurs beat writers Tom Orsborn and Jeff McDonald. Jeffrey is hoping to do the unthinkable and get on a plane this week that takes off on time and arrives back home in time, but he can be encouraged by the fact that he's already seen something unprecedented, easy for me to say. Victor Wembanyama with yet another night that no one in the NBA has ever accomplished before. Is that where we want to start, Jeff? The Spurs have won 3 in a row. The stat combination that Victor put up against the Bulls, of Victor Wembanyama-esque, and the Spurs are winning again.
Yeah, here's what was on my mind leaving the United Center last night, and will probably appear in the Express News Dead Tree edition and also expressnews.com in the hours and days to come. But how many times over the past several seasons, mostly in the pre-Wemby era, have we seen the Spurs lose a game exactly the way the Chicago Bulls lost a game last night, where they're, young and plucky and game and fighting hard and right there in the fourth quarter, and then the other team's star just, does other team star things and takes over the game. And it's a narrow loss. It's a moral victory for the Spurs. How many times have we seen that over the past several years? And now the Spurs, the team that has that guy. And actually, as someone in the locker room corrected me, they have 2 of those guys now. But last night, it was Victor Wembanyama. And so much of the NBA comes down to star players making plays in the fourth quarter. Like you can break it down, a game down a million different ways. But usually, if your best player is the best player on the floor in the fourth quarter, you win the game. And the Spurs have those guys now, and that's going to be the thing. That it's already been the thing that's gotten them some victories they wouldn't have had before, and that's going to be the thing that keeps them rolling. I think the line that Mitch Johnson used is, I may be paraphrasing a little bit, but it's like sometimes it's the players more than the plays down the stretch. And last night, the Spurs had the player, and that's what got them the game.
As the person in the locker room who corrected you last night could point out, that other player was the one who did it on Saturday against New Orleans in his first game back.
I'm aware. I was at that one too.
Yeah, and that we have many topics to cover this week as usual, but De'Aaron Fox, who had not played in many, many months, had been growing increasingly frustrated about not being able to return, wanting to get clearance to return in his first game back against the Pelicans. Did exactly what Jeff just described. He gave the Spurs a player who knew how to finish against a team that was young and plucky and looking to steal one. De'Aaron Fox didn't let him do it, much like Victor Wembanyama did not let the Bulls do it on Monday night. And when you add it all up in combination with a victory on Friday that easily could have been a loss against probably the best team that the Spurs played in this last 3-game stretch, the Houston Rockets, you have a 3-game winning streak, a 3-1 record since our last podcast, which exceeds all of our predictions from last week. I think we all had them going 2-2, and the Spurs are in second place in the Western Conference. Tom?
Yeah. It's you look at what they're doing, and from time to time you'd think we could be working till June. That's hyperbole, of course, but I mean, the playoffs definitely something to start thinking about. Start making those plans, fans and reporters. But it's a long season. There's a long season. Injuries can pop up. God knows what else. So, but looking good right.
You're saying
my strategy as a podcast.
Go ahead.
My strategy as a podcast host, whenever Tom Orsborn has a hot take, is to just stay silent, and he will immediately start backtracking.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's the Tom Orsborn way.
There you go.
He will just give him a pause, and he will think maybe I shouldn't have said that, and
I
he will
know.
say the Spurs are great, but maybe they're not.
Maybe
And
they're
that's how we get the listeners, man.
What
We
what
always
I
qualify.
what I'm hearing is I need to cancel that vacation I have planned for mid-April.
That's
I've
that
I've
that's
had I've
that's
had a
a
running
definite.
I've had a running vacation scheduled for mid-April for like the last 6 years. I guess I should cancel that this time.
there you go.
If you
All
look
right.
at the conference, and this is way too early to be doing this, but there are some teams that are going through it right now, and that might be categorized as being mess-like, as being maybe not as stout as they thought they were a month or so ago. And instead of like when the season started, you looked at 10, 11 teams in the Western Conference that thought they should be making the playoffs. I mean that now I'm looking at 7 good teams and 8 teams that have some question marks. And the Spurs are one of the 7 good teams, I think. Um, and so does that guarantee mid-April? Not necessarily, but I think it makes it more likely than not that the Spurs are playing in a playoff series and might not be in that play-in part of it. So that could be an overreaction, but I think that's probably the general wisdom right now is the Spurs are in that top group.
Well, they're
I
doing
guess we
exactly what we talked about before the start of the season. That needed to make hay with this schedule, and they're definitely
Yep.
doing that.
I still think 8-2 is a lot. Like if you said make hay, I wouldn't have said 8-2. I would have
Yep.
thought, oh, maybe 6-4 would be great. I didn't expect them to win every game that they're supposed to win. So, I mean, I would say they've even though we knew it's a softish schedule to open the season, and um, I would still say they've exceeded expectations, even with that kind of curve thrown in there.
I have not read Jeff McDonald's story that will be in the Dead Tree edition, I guess on Wednesday off the Chicago game. But I would assume that in addition to the perspective he just offered about how the Spurs are winning these close games, he also has a pretty interesting observation on Victor Wembanyama and his 3-point percentage, which I know you brought up last night. You know where I'm going with this?
Heading into last night's game, Victor Wembanyama he had made 8 3-pointers all season in 34 attempts. And if you don't want to do the math yourself in your head, I'll give you a second. But if you don't, that's 23.5% from 3-point range heading into Monday. And then he was 6 for 9, with the 2 biggest ones coming in the fourth quarter, tying the game and going ahead and the go-ahead shot. And it's like even when there's something that looks to the league like Victor's kryptonite for a while, he ends up just beating you over the head with it anyway, eventually. But I was Vucevic kind of mentioned that last night. Like he hadn't even been shooting them well, and all of a sudden he's hitting these over me. So again,
Both of those possessions were kind of striking in that even though we all knew, everyone watching knew the in general terms, the statistic that Jeff just mentioned that Victor Wembanyama had not been shooting 3-pointers well this year. I think in the United Center and among the people watching at home, I think everyone had kind of the same thought on both of those plays, and that of course this is going in. That's one of those deals that Jeff is talking about with the best player on the floor late in the game. You just expect the good things to happen. And even though Victor had been shooting 23% for the year, like both of those shots were exactly the shots that he wanted, that the Spurs wanted. They were over another big guy. Neither of them were wide open threes by any means, but they were confidently taken. They were confidently made, and Jeff, you got that sense in the arena, right? That of course these 2 shots are going to go in.
yeah, and the second one was striking in that what the first one was almost a little bit in transition, like it was kind of a
Mhm.
quick pull. The second one was Victor, almost at midcourt, dribbling the ball, waving his teammates off, I mean, it's the kind of thing you've seen at the end of games where it's, that's like Michael Jordan or LeBron
LeBron
or
James, yeah.
but this is a 7'4" guy waving everyone off to go 1-on-1 and then shoot a pull-up three-pointer. Like it was fascinating, but both from the mental aspect of it, of what Vic is thinking there, like I'm taking this shot, and the physical aspect of a 7'4" guy pulling that off. It was really striking to just see him. I mean, watch him wave his teammates away and saying, basically, I got this. I'm going to make a play with this. And Victor said after the game, I thought about driving, but that would kind of complicate things going to a crowd. I thought I could get some separation and just, make that three. And then Victor said, I guess I made the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
So
a 7'4" guy with two other point guards on the floor too. That's another funny thing, is that we've talked so much about who the point guard is and do the Spurs have too many of them and how does everybody fit their roles. Well, with the game on the line, it's Victor Wembanyama, the 7'4" guy who waves everybody off and initiates things. And to add to this,
it's fascinating to watch what they're becoming. And like you said, the game before that was De'Aaron Fox taking the big shot. Like it could have been De'Aaron, but it's sort of sometimes it's how the game is unfolding, how things are going. I think if Victor had somehow missed the game tying shot, maybe you see something different the next trip. But because he was feeling it, he's got free reign to do what he wants there, and he's learning what. I mean, he's always had a knack for those moments, but I think he's getting even more confident and comfortable and learning what to do with them.
I'm not sure if Victor brought this up to you last night, but I think another facet that played into this was he liked that matchup on a big guy, and the Bulls are the first team in a while that have had a big guy guarding him.
Yep.
And when you have a traditional matchup for him, like I think he licks his chops. And as many times as I think I've mentioned on this podcast, and Tom and Jeff have sort of chimed in, that maybe Victor gets too dribble happy sometimes. Maybe, there have been times when he looks for the 3-point shot too much for a guy who can dominate inside. Like in that situation, I don't mind it at all. Like that's a huge matchup when you have Nikola Vucevic, who's a good player, but who Victor is just that is the matchup where he can just eat another big guy's lunch on the perimeter. And if you had Royce O'Neal or Alex Caruso or name your little guy on Victor in that situation, he probably does not react the same way. But I think that matchup in particular was one that he really liked, and there was not much that Vooch could do with that. Just for posterity's sake, the unprecedented numbers I mentioned earlier: 38 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, and 6 3-pointers made. That combination,
it's a first.
That combination, no one has ever done in NBA history. No Oscar Robertson, no Wilt Chamberlain. They couldn't make 3-pointers, of course. No Michael Jordan, no LeBron James, no Sandro Mamukelashvili.
Yeah, I knew where that was going.
No one's ever done that before.
Sandro would do all that in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. It's you almost take it for granted that you see something like that almost every night he plays. And this is at the end of a podcast week in which the first 3 games were not vintage Victor Wembanyama games. They were games when you wondered, is he going to work things out? We can kind of review those. They were games when he was being guarded by little guys, being double teamed and having some difficulty. But the Spurs won 2 of those 3 against the Houston Rockets and the New Orleans Pelicans. Had a pretty fun game against the LA Lakers, which seems like years ago. But that was not a blowout by any means. That went down to the wire, and then it was heartbreaking, a tough one to take in many ways. And the Spurs responded with the 3-game winning streak. Just as a whole, Jeff, your impressions of what we've seen since we last met?
It was a good week. It was a good week for the local Cagers, and I think I mean, the win over Houston was probably their most impressive one to date. To me, number one, that's the best team they played overall so far, and that's a team that's going to make you grind one out. They're going to beat on you. They're going to claw at you. They defend Victor as well as anyone in the league traditionally. And the Spurs made it work. It didn't always look pretty. There was Houston was up on them, I think 11 in the second quarter. And I was thinking in years past, this is where it gets away. They don't ever turn games like that. And they fought back into it and then got into a fourth quarter game that could go either way. And then they were the ones that took control of it. And again, I think that's a pretty big step for this team, especially when you account for the fact that it came against a team as good as the Rockets. I mean, I think you would say Oklahoma City is clearly the best team in the West, best team in the league. But if you're saying who's the second best team in the West, the Rockets are a team that I would put on the ballot, and the Spurs were able to handle them in a basically get down in the mud, get in the trenches with them, and grind out a game against the team known for grinding out games. So I thought that was a really impressive win, even if it wasn't pretty at all times.
It wasn't pretty. An old friend of the podcast, Ime Udoka, told new friend of the podcast, Danielle Lerner, that the Rockets got punked by the Spurs. And that's sort of a new thing to suggest that a new thing that's also an old thing from decades ago, but a new thing, and that the Spurs are a team that are just kind of pushing a pretty tough team around, Tom. And that was a return for your friend and ours, Jeremy Sohan, to the floor.
Yes.
Start getting into all the players who've returned in recent days, but that was a good Jeremy game.
Yeah, he came back against the Lakers, I think, but
the Lakers, you're correct.
But your point, your point is well taken. But the guy who did a lot of the punking was the guy who put on a pair of cowboy boots and a cowboy hat after the game.
Yeah,
I think we should note how well Keldon Johnson's been playing on the offensive boards. He had 3 more last night, and I mean he came into that game. It was a perfect example of why he's in the top 10 list in offensive rebound percentage. He's the only guy in that list who's under 6'10", and he playing against Houston. He's going against 3 guys that are 6'10" or more, 4 guys I think on that roster that are key rotation players, and he's the one coming away with the boards. So he did a lot of punking in that one.
He's just a delight.
He is.
What a year. We've talked so many times over the podcast, Jeff especially, about how cool it would be to see him, the longest tenured Spur, the guy who's been here for all of the 6-year playoff drought, to finally be on a team that was winning again and contributing to it. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's not just on the team that's winning again. He is making major contributions to it. Just playing really well. Devin Vassell didn't play well last night against the Bulls. Jeff might have an update on his health, but I was looking at like some advanced nerd stats yesterday, and his net rating is the best on the team and one of the best in the league, or it was heading into the Bulls game. Like, I think we sort of overlooked how well Devin Vassell is fitting into his new spot. But Tom's right. Great week for Keldon. Great season so far for Devin Vassell. Julian Champagnie came back from a tough ending against the Lakers and really contributed to that victory over the Rockets. Jeff had that on expressnews.com in the paper. Just a lot. It's not just a Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle show, even though those 3 guys are all contributing. Everybody is doing good stuff.
Harrison Barnes with a big block.
Harrison Barnes. Yeah.
This isn't like a very trenchant observation, but one of the reasons they're winning a lot of games is because they have a lot of good players now.
Yeah.
Like, gone are the days where there's, you have maybe 6 guys you like and the rest of the rotation is Flotsam and Jetsam. I don't know, where'd they trade Flotsam to? I can't remember. But
I think the Pelicans traded a first-round pick for Flotsam, unprotected.
But now they've got more guys than you can use, really. Like, there are guys that are not going to be able to play there have been guys that have contributed to this start that have given you some good moments. that now that everyone's back are not going to be able to play as much. And so in a lot of ways, that's the key to the league, right? Just keep plugging in good players. Like the more good players you can play for the more the 48 minutes, the better you do. And again, that's a change from years past, where it's usually the other teams that have all these guys like, oh, I forgot about that guy, and he's just made 6 points in a row. Now the
That is
Spurs have those kind of guys.
That is the Oklahoma City model, right? And that
Yeah.
for many years in the league, it was just the team with the best three guys won. And that's why you saw so many of the big threes and the super teams, and that worked. The NBA has sort of changed. You need to have a deep roster of not necessarily difference makers, but guys who can really contribute and not just take up space. And just the game is faster. Um, uh, Pressure is a bigger part of it. You need more shooters. You need more contributors. Oklahoma City exemplified that last year, and the Spurs are developing that. They're not as deep as OKC is. Obviously, I mean, we're talking about the defending NBA champs, but you're right. There's now that these guys are getting healthy again, and Dylan Harper is not healthy yet, but other than that, the team is healthy. You're seeing guys like just a Luke Cornett, who had not played since the second game, had been dealing with an ankle, played really well those first two games, had been out for, 2 weeks. His first game back, I counted 5 alley-oop dunks from Stephon Castle last night. Like it was just, he was just right on time over and over and over again. And that's a small part of what he contributes. But when you add that dimension to this team, in addition to his defense, in addition to just what he can do alongside and in place of Victor Wembanyama, like that's your 8th, 9th guy. That's pretty good.
That French vanilla combo was pretty huge in the fourth quarter last night in Chicago. Like, I mean, Victor obviously, and for good reason, gets all the attention with his 18 points, but Luke had 10 points in the fourth quarter. French vanilla combined for 28 of the Spurs' 32 points in the fourth last night. And like you said, a lot of it is lobs from Steph. I did ask Steph about throwing lobs to Luke as compared to Victor, and he admitted that it is different. But maybe counterintuitively, he said it's easier to throw lobs to Luke Cornett because they're easier passes, and especially when he's playing with Victor, because Victor gets so much attention. If the other team has one good big guy defender, that guy's with Vic. So Luke has more free reign when everybody's paying attention to Victor. This is what Steph told me last night. So when those two are on the floor, Steph is definitely looking for Luke at the rim, like all the time.
It makes sense. And you know what else is counterintuitive when it comes to Steph Castle is, I think there was probably a 5-minute block on last week's podcast. We were talking about how he needs to play off the ball, and the best thing that's going to happen for him is when De'Aaron Fox comes back and he can create plays for himself and not have to worry about creating for others. And De'Aaron Fox came back, and Stephon Castle responded with 2 of his best assist games of his career. And could you explain that, Jeff? I think I see
No.
why it's happening,
I can't.
but it is sort of counterintuitive. And why do you think that is?
Steph still has his hands on the ball a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the assists more than they were, a week ago? I don't know. But you're right. It's 3 straight double-digit assist games for Steph Castle. And
I think it's because instead of making the passes he feels he has to make, he's making the passes he wants to make. And maybe that's a subtle difference. And maybe just having De'Aaron Fox out there just creates another player for defenses to worry about. And those lobs to Luke Cornett and the passes to Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama are just easier to see. But I think there is definitely a corollary. There is a correlation between having Fox out there and Steph playing better. I just did not expect that the return of the starting point guard to mean that Steph Castle is all of a sudden a double-digit assist guy. but it's cool to watch.
How did Mitch Johnson?
You could say he's hitting a lot of singles.
He's hitting a lot of singles with his passes. He's not necessarily trying to make the home
Run
run
the
pass.
fences.
He's just doing the easy one, like you said, and
The lob to Cornette.
the reason they're easy is because there's better players around them. Maybe that's what it is.
Yep. Yeah. How long does this last? The good
Podcast. How long does
good
this
vibe- the-
podcast last?
This podcast.
We're going to be
probably-
canceled any
too
day
long
now.
already.
What do you mean?
The good vibes. The NBA season is a long season. There's always ebbs and flows. There's
I heard
going to
that.
be a losing streak around the bend, but we have to think that this team is playing like this when Fox hasn't been around forever, and his first 2 games have gone swimmingly. Luke Cornette, seamless addition after being out for 6 games. I guess we could mention that Kelly Olynyk and Lindy Waters have returned as well. Jeremy Sohan looked really nice against the Lakers. Has not been as great since then, but you can sort of see what his role is. And there are nights when he's going to make a difference. There are nights when he might not. Jeff, did you want to say anything about Devin Vassell, who left early last night or Monday night against the Bulls?
Yeah, it was they said he had a migraine, and so they didn't put him back in. Mitch kind of mentioned after the game that Devin came over at some point in the third quarter and said he's feeling better, maybe go back in, but the medical staff wasn't having it. It didn't sound like anything that was going to linger going forward, but I guess we'll know more when the team gets back to San Antonio, shoot around Wednesday for the Warriors game. Maybe there'll be an update then.
That's a good segue into the week ahead. None of us were accurate with our predictions last week, but we have another chance this week. The Spurs have the Golden State Warriors in they call a baseball series, 2 games at home in a row on Wednesday and Friday. And then after that, we have, anybody know off the top of their heads? I'm going to test you.
Yeah. Sacramento Sunday.
Sacramento on Sunday. And
Memphis.
the mighty Memphis. Well, we will record on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm just saying, looking ahead, they can stack some wins.
It's a 5-game homestand. They haven't lost at home yet.
Yeah.
The rest of that homestand is Memphis on Tuesday and the Atlanta Hawks on Thursday.
Yes.
Those are all winnable games. The Warriors are a good team, and it's hard to beat the same team twice in a row. But that 5-game winning streak or 5-game homestand does not scream bleak times ahead. It's another opportunity.
Golden State is at Oklahoma City tonight. So it's
they start in San Antonio on the second end of a back-to-back. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
We will predict 3 of these because we will reconvene before the Memphis game. So you have Golden State on the second half of a back-to-back for the Warriors. You have 2 nights later the Warriors again, and Sunday afternoon a matinee against the woeful Sacramento Kings. Tom, you can begin. What do you think the local Cagers will do in that 3-game set?
Well, since you chided me for not having a hot take earlier and backing off, I'm gonna say 3-0.
See how
I'm not backing off. I'm not backing off it. I'm not sticking to it.
There.
I'm sticking to it. You got them back to back. Golden State coming in back after playing Oklahoma City. Spurs are going to win that one. They'll be ready. They'll be ready to repeat, to sweep the Golden State Warriors on this baseball back to back. And then they'll be.
I think that Friday night game against the Warriors is another Amazon Prime game.
It is
exclusive national Amazon Prime game. That was that was interesting to see how that worked out. And the most noteworthy thing is an Amazon Prime game means Jeff gets to sit on the floor, which I know he enjoys.
Oh yeah, that is enjoyable. It's a different game down there, you guys. Those players are very tall. I don't know if you know this. They're very tall. You can't tell from the platform how tall they are.
Uh-huh.
Also, there's
It-
just a ton of cursing.
Yeah, that's just on press row.
That's just from
Yeah.
Jeremy, right?
No, that's me when it goes to overtime.
Jeff, are you going to be as bold as your colleague in your 3-game prediction?
Well, let me ask you this. It's something I should know. I'm trying to Google it now. What is Steph Curry's prognosis for these games? Hasn't he been out?
Well, he's been
He's had a
sick,
cold.
right?
He's had just a common cold apparently, but he's coming back against OKC. But
Okay.
you could see them resting him.
I'm gonna go with 2-1.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat a team twice in the same series, and the Warriors are good enough to pull off one of those games. Probably the second one. So I'm gonna go 2-1 if Curry's a full go.
I'm going to concur with Jeff. As
I
difficult
can't win
as that
every
is.
game.
Yeah. It's hard to beat the same team twice, and I think the Golden State's record is reflected. It's a reflection of not having everybody, and Steph has been out, and Steph's going to come back, and it'll be another one of these games. This is a hot take. Is going to be a classic Curry versus Wembanyama showdown, which the national TV loves. That might be on Amazon Prime on Friday night.
That's on the legal schedule. That one.
That's a cup game, by the way. Another cup game. The Spurs are 1-0 in the cup.
They're motivated for the cup this year.
Tom is motivated to get to Las Vegas for the final. He's already got his reservations booked, allegedly.
That's right.
And that was a funny moment. Tom and I had made it back into the media room in time to see the end of the Amazon Prime broadcast when Victor Wembanyama was asked about playing in the group of death, which I did not know was a thing, and Victor Wembanyama did not know was a thing. But it's like the World Cup, right, Tom? It's like the toughest group, and the Spurs allegedly are in it, and they're leading it.
They really are. Like, who else is in the group?
You got your Golden State Warriors. You
Denver,
got your
right?
You got your Houston Rockets. You got your Denver Nuggets. And then the Portland Trailblazers, the upstart Portland Trailblazers. It really is a group of death.
Yeah.
But the 4 games that the Spurs play in the Cup, for those of you who are not familiar with the Cup, because the Spurs have really not contended much for the Cup, you play the other 4 teams in your group on scheduled nights in November, usually Fridays, a couple of Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And if you finish in the top 8, you move on to the next round. And the Spurs have won their first one against the Rockets. Their second one is against the Warriors on Friday. The Wednesday night game against the Warriors this week will not count in the Cup, but the Friday one does. And then that Thanksgiving week, that trip that Jeff is on, I believe, are both Cup games at the Trailblazers and at the Nuggets. And that will determine who goes on. But if the Spurs emerge from the group of death, that's another feather in their cap. And like I said, I picked them to go 2-1. The upcoming schedule beyond the Warriors has the Kings and the Grizzlies, who are 2 of the more messier, two of the more struggling teams in the Western Conference. So an opportunity there.
Eventually, they're going to hit this stretch where they got Oklahoma City twice, and Denver's in there, and they're playing Cleveland twice, and they've got some elite teams coming in December. So good that they're now.
At Denver, at Minnesota, at Orlando, at Cleveland.
Yeah, but I mean, at any team can say that. Like, it's not like they're hitting a stretch, and with the team they have now, they're not going to hit a stretch where it just seems impossible.
Right.
Like, you look at the rest of November, it looks pretty navigable, and that December stretch that Jeff is talking about. I see 2 Washingtons. I see New Orleans in there. Like,
look. This podcast is just getting way too rosy, and it's making me anxious, and I need to throw some cold water on something somehow. It's hard to be a wet blanket this week.
Well, speaking of anxiousness and speaking of needing to find some negatives, here's the big question. Is your flight going to take off on time here in the next couple hours?
I think I live here now.
In Chicago?
I think I live here in Chicago now. It's going to be hard to cover the Spurs from Chicago. They don't come back here this year.
Yeah.
So,
do you have Amazon Prime?
I could get it on my laptop. Yeah.
Well, at least you could watch the Friday game that way.
That's good.
Do you have NBC Peacock?
I could probably arrange that.
You can watch the Memphis game next Tuesday. The interviews might be difficult, but you'll make it work somehow. We all will make it work somehow. Tom will make it work. Tom was willing to step in, much like the bench players in the San Antonio Spurs are ready to step in when needed. And somehow, some way, we will get it done until we meet you next time. Until then, take care of each other and keep it real.